So yesterday, while searching for footage for another video, I stumbled upon an old hard drive that contained a portion of my life that I'd completely forgotten about. Seeing these lost photos and videos brought back memories that made me want to go back to a time when life was less stressful and the economy was better. But this bittersweet moment was short-lived because my sister just so happened to be working in my room, and we began talking about what it was like growing up as Asian Canadians. And we came to the realization that life back then wasn't much easier. It was just different, but it certainly doesn't feel that way. See, nostalgia, which is defined as the feeling of happiness and loss when past events are remembered, isn't actually real. It's a fantasy that we create of the past. Because if I were to relive my childhood, that would mean going through the 2008 housing crisis again, although I was probably like 9 when that happened, but it wasn't good. Struggling and failing to make friends and feeling like an outcast because my parents either didn't want to or couldn't afford, but most likely just didn't want to buy us phones. So if that was the case, why do I still feel like everything back then was objectively better than it is now? Well, my theory is that our ability to remember the past is actually quite limited. We're only able to store events in our minds for a few days before moving them to long-term storage. As time goes on and the concrete facts fade from our consciousness, our memory becomes this kind of jumbled mess of emotions. This filtered and blurred version of the past is often what gets compared to our current lives, which contains all the current facts and daily struggles. So obviously the past is going to feel objectively better, but I also think being in my 20s doesn't help because it's the first time in my life where there are real consequences to my actions. Every relationship, every job, and every opportunity that I accept or turn down will have a real impact on the rest of my life. With so much at stake, it's normal to feel afraid and unsure of yourself. The family norms and crutches you used growing up may no longer be helpful, and your 20s is the time to let go of those before they begin sabotaging your development. I know that certainly is the case for me because one of the narratives that I continually tell myself is that love is a performance where the audience needs to continually be clapping or I'd feel like a failure. Obviously, this wasn't a healthy mindset to adopt, but it was one that I used to survive adolescence. Growing up as the middle child, I was always given more liberties than both my sister and my brother. My parents really didn't care what I did as long as I was safe and I didn't hurt anyone else. Being the confused kid that I didn't do that much homework. Now, I wasn't necessarily a bad kid, I just didn't enjoy staying at home and writing the alphabet. I'd much rather be outside and play with the kids. To my parents, I and all my flaws was enough. However, Asian parents have the tendency to compare their kids with their friends' kids, and it wasn't before long I began noticing this subtle pressure. Whenever I achieved a desired result, I got to feel loved, but only temporarily. The next time I'd have to be just as good, if not better, or I'd be sternly talked to for not being as good as the other kids. Being the naive and young child I was, I never realized that my parents' desire for me to look successful was largely motivated by them not wanting to feel inferior to their peers as parents. Instead, I took these attacks personally and believed that if I could just outwork the competition, then I would always win. For the most part, adopting this mindset has definitely served me well over the years, but as I enter this next phase of my life, as I look to enter the job market and the relationship market in earnest, this black and white way of seeing results has stopped me from embracing failure and preventing me from emotionally connecting with the new people that I meet. The boat that I picked up many years ago helped me cross many of the real struggles that I faced during the day-to-day, but that same boat is preventing me from venturing deeper into the forest where new experiences lie. When I look back at these photos, I am brought back to a time when life seemed more simple and carefree. Back then, decisions didn't really matter, and it seemed like I had all the time in the world, so I never thought about utilizing my hours to their fullest potential. Being young, I was caught up in all the trends and normal drama that everyone else was caught up in. My life back then revolved around little nuggets of entertainment rather than trying to develop long-term habits that would bring fulfillment. Now that I'm older, I realize that what used to dominate my headspace seems so unimportant and irrelevant now. Being in my 20s, I am in the most pivotal decade of my life. There are so many things that I want to do at so little time. Nostalgia can be an incredibly useful tool to lean on during times of uncertainty. But eventually you have to stop reminiscing and go spend time with the people that you care about, do the things that you love, and most importantly, develop the skills that will serve you for the rest of your life. Every moment you decide to do or not to do something is a vote of who you want to be in the future. So go out and experience the world and decide, who do you want to be?